Hello, welcome. We are going to be stitching this owl today. Well, we're going to be stitching half the owl because, as most animals, one half should look just like the other half, roughly. All right, so let's get started. So I'm starting with a single strand of black to do the details on the eyes first. So I'm going to first use some satin stitch here to fill this in. This could potentially be an interesting video. I actually haven't written up the pattern yet. So, yeah. I've stitched the owl, and here we are. I'm just gonna retrace my steps. That's the interesting thing with thread painting is there's a lot of different ways to do it. And I think every time, if I were to stitch this owl 100 times, I would do it a little bit different every time. And neither would be wrong. Oh, just a little bit different. So, as I come in here, I feel like we should actually outline this circle. You can do it before or after. With black, I find it's really hard to see. So, if you're doing this outline after instead of before, which is what I would usually do, I don't think anyone's going to notice. And the reason I'm doing this outline is to help define this circle shape. And in fact, after we add the yellow, we may even need to come back and do a little bit more. And I don't usually spend that much time trying to get a shape perfect, but with owls, I feel like their eyes are like the most dramatic part of them, right? The most, I don't know, dramatic. Yeah, that's the right word, I think. So it really stands out when you see one, right? It's this really round, big, yellow eyes. So we want them to stand out. Okay, so that's the inside part of the eye. And then, so all of this shape here, all of this, that's all black too. So we're going to start filling that in. Or should we do yellow? Maybe I'll do the yellow first. See, again, like I said, you could do either. That's why sometimes I have a hard time writing up instructions and trying to come up with, what is the perfect stitch order? Because I don't know if there is one. It's all just suggestions. So I'm gonna outline. I'm trying to outline this with a split stitch, or a back split stitch, I guess. I feel like I need some readers on and a brighter light. So if you're doing this project and it's too small, don't worry, you can enlarge it. You can also just do the best you can and not worry so much about trying to get anything perfect. I think the eyes are definitely the hardest part of this project, just because, like I said, I am attempting to get them to look very dramatic and keep them as circular as I can. So it's, I will say, so you probably noticed that this isn't a circle, right? So part of the reason why we're not seeing the whole circle of the eye is that we have this black that's coming here and cutting into it, like a eyebrow essentially. So we're just seeing like the bottom of that iris. So now I'm just kind of filling this in with the yellow. And I will be coming back in and adding another color. We can do it later, and we can just do it right on top of this yellow and not worry about it right this second. Such a teeny tiny shape. That's why we're using a single strand. For the rest of the owl, I pretty much use 2 strands. Actually, when I first started, I ended up having to get rid of my original owl because I was trying to do the eye with 2 strands, and it was just not working to do all this little detail stitching. Okay, so I kind of outlined both sides. Now I'm going to just kind of fill in here. I suppose you could just do the whole thing yellow and then do that black on top. That would be another option. This is feeling messy and random. I think that's how all thread painting feels at some point. I'm just looking for holes right now. I feel like I have a little hole right here I didn't get. Any place where I see that like shadow, I'm trying to fill in. Whew. All right. I think we're okay here. So if I, let's see, where's my owl? Yeah, that's what I did. Although, no, I feel like I went up a little higher with the yellow, huh? But that's how it looks here. Okay, let me keep going and not try to overanalyze. So, I'm gonna come in here. I think I'm gonna outline using 1 strand, and then I'm gonna switch to 2 strands. Oops, why is my camera moving? Oh, because my cat is moving. The camera is kind of leaning up against a cat bed, which, in retrospect, is a horrible idea. Alright, so I'm just outlining with, I guess, a back split stitch or a back stitch. All this is getting filled in. I just want to make sure that I have nice, sharp outline. Okay, so I am gonna overlap my thread, so I'm switching to using 2 strands now. So you can see I have the 2, and I'm gonna start filling. Oops, no, that was just one right there. The tail popped out. Oh, there it is again. And it'll get stuck back there here in a sec. In another sec. So I'm just going around the eye, making this like some really dramatic eyeliner. My goodness. Okay, now it's doubled up. That'll just make our work a little faster here with a doubled up length. So stitch direction here is just kind of whatever comes natural. Again, I find that when working with black, it's pretty hard to even see what the stitch direction is. So these are gonna go this way. And then I'm also needing to continue my eyeliner this way. So, excuse me, while I'm over here, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do the nose, or the beak, excuse me, since I'm right here. So we're just gonna fill this with, I don't know if you want to call it, I mean, probably not satin stitch. I guess we're just filling it with stitches. Jeez. What should we call it? I guess it's gonna be split stitch. We're filling it with split stitch. I'm gonna outline it first. So with this beak and with the eyes, the dramatic black here in contrast with the white behind it, it's important to keep. So again, once we keep going and do the stitches around the beak and the eyes, we might find that we need to come back with the black and add more stitches. So never be afraid to do that with thread painting. What kind of outline was that right there, huh? Alright, so I outlined it. Now I'm filling it. So I outlined it first just to help keep the shape, help me keep within the guidelines. It's easier to do that when I have a nice bold outline to stay within. Again, I'm working with black, so my stitch direction is whatever. So here where the eye, I guess the inner corner of the eye, I'm going to add some stitches here that are going to blend into gray later. And it might, I don't know, you could do it now like I am, or you could do them after you do the gray. What do we have here? Here we go. Something like that, more or less. All right, I'm going to keep going up this way with my outline. I think we need another one here. Here's our eyelash. I just turned around and my husband was crawling over the table trying to get to some supplies behind me. So I had to pause the video. He was he was trying not to interrupt me. But I was like, let's not have to call 911 today, yeah? I can pause the video. Let's not crawl over furniture. Okay, that's a very dramatic eyelash. Okay, so we'll go up this way. It's just like paint by number at this point, right? We're just filling this in. When I was creating this pattern, I was actually looking at, I think, 4 different owls to figure out what to do with the coloring and the spots, and they're all the owls are a little bit different, and I was trying to find one that was like maybe the most simple to recreate. And well, I don't know if I did or not, but because they all have different stripes and different spots and different colors, and some of them look more faded and some of them are more bright, and I think I looked at enough that I got it. I figured it out. Okay, let's go back towards the center of the face before we get too far away. So at this point, one thing we could do is this line here. This is going to be black as well. So a lot of times when we do thread painting, we kind of work from one end to another and like only stitch. Like if we want to stitch this, we'd have to stitch this and this and this and this and this. And I don't know if that's always true. So let's try this. So tricky part with this line is that we're having to have a stitch direction basically perpendicular to the actual shape, which means lots of stitches. And I think you'll find any animal with lots of stripes and lots of spots means lots of stitches. Before I get too far down, I'm going to do an extra stitch right here in this section because it kind of goes from like darker to lighter and then darker. Basically, you could put any color anywhere and it'd be fine. It's just like, oh yeah, it's just another spot. If you'd like, you could use just a single strand of floss to do this, or you can use 3 strands. I'm just gonna grab my pen for a second so I can draw in this stitch direction for you. It's kind of like away from the eyes like that. And then it gets all weird over here. That took me a while to figure out. Like the direction of the feathers on the neck kind of is weird. And actually around the nose, or not the nose again, the beak. The stitch direction is a little weird. The feathers kind of overlap the beak. Anyways, when we're doing projects like this, it's always good to remember, don't have to do it perfectly. It doesn't have to look exactly like an owl. And one thing hopefully you've noticed is, I have this guideline and I've definitely been going over it on both sides. And that is on purpose because I want to, when I do the stitching on either side of it, I'm going to be kind of stitching into this black a little bit. So if we only stitched within the guideline, the black stripe would end up being a little too thin. And it's just a guideline. So you'll notice for the other side of the face, everything's pretty much identical. The only thing is that since the owl is kind of turned a little bit, it's just like a smaller area to stitch. Originally I was going to demo on that side, but then I realized it'd be kind of weird because I wanted to do the wing, and that's on the left, so. I think when I'm doing a thread painting and I'm trying to figure out what to stitch when, it's kind of a mix between stitching things as I get to them, like, in order as far as, from the center out, and a mix between that and by color. And sometimes I go back and forth just to keep it exciting. Almost made it. Okay, I'm gonna leave this up here in the ear. And let's go with some gray next. And we'll do that corner eye. Or I guess we could do the highlights on the beak first. I just added like a couple stitches on top. Something like that. Okay. So now, this is a little tricky. I'm gonna go from this side. I'm gonna split into that black. Try not to pull up anything weird. And then go down here. Same thing here. I'm gonna split kind of in between. Maybe. There we go. Kind of keep with this stitch direction. Kind of like marking it out for myself so then I can fill it in without having to use my whole brain, in theory. Not that I ever use my whole brain. So now I'm gonna go back and kind of fill that in, and we're just going up to this line here. So because I did the black first, you can see it's getting a little bit eaten away every time I do a stitch into it, right? Which is why I over exaggerated it over here. So we'll see how it looks when I'm done with the gray, if we need to go back in. Sorry, I'm finding a little twisty knot here. Oh, hello, little twisty knot. Might be a... Oh, no, I got it. I got it. I thought I was going to have to cut that one. I decided to sweet talk it. Let's see. So I'm like, see how I push up from below? Bloop. That helps me see. You don't have to do it with a sound effect if you don't want. It helps me see if there's any holes in here. Because from where I am back here, I couldn't see any unless I did that. It's kind of tricky with this color because it's dark like the fabric. Okay, as you move to the left here, it's going to start fading into the brown. So I don't have to do too great of a job filling in here. And then I'm going to add some back up here for this ring around the eye. It's going to be mostly white, but starts gray at this end. And I'll add one maybe here. I think I have a weird knot. What's going on back here? I'm also going to add just a couple of stitches in this black. Just wherever. They can be kind of out of bounds. You can use it to fill in if you had gaps. Like here, I left a little gap. So we'll fill that in with the gray. Okay, then since we have the gray, let's go ahead up to the top. And actually, I'm going to park here. We won't actually do the top yet. We'll do it soon. Soon. Okay, yeah, let's do the white next. So I'm going to let's start with the eyes first. So remember I made my eyelash kind of dramatic here, so I'm going to have to stitch into it a little bit because it didn't leave space. But you can see on this side there's that little tiny couple stitches of the white ring that you can see behind that eyelash. Let's see if I can make it the shape I want better. Like that. Alright. I'm going to fill this in. And the same thing here, you can go beyond the guideline. Because when we fill in this gap here, we're going to want to have a little bit of overlap. And I'm going up near that guideline, and then I'm going down near the eye, and that's because I have more accuracy when I go down, and I want to make sure we keep as much as possible that strong dramatic eyeliner like I mentioned before. Again, if you're working on this and as you do these stitches you find that your eyeliner isn't looking as great as it used to look, well, you can definitely come back in with that black and do a little touch up. Looks pretty good. Now that I'm over here, I'm going to add the little nose or beak hairs. just doing these on top of that gray that we already laid down. And we're sticking with the same stitch direction. Add as many as you like. Oh, that stitch is just gone. Can barely see it. Something like that. And then, let's see, I should probably do this while we're here. For frowny face. It's funny, in looking at pictures of owls, like, so many of them had really funny faces. Like, especially the more I would look at them, like, the funnier they would look. Like, you know, I have this kind of like eyebrow covering the eye a little bit so that you don't see the full complete circle of the eye, because when you do see a complete circle of the eye, it's this very like shocked, alert facial expression, right? Just like and like almost a little stressful. And I don't know, I didn't want a stressed owl. So I'm just filling this in with split stitch, kind of doing an outline and then filling as I head in whatever direction I'm going. Okay, something like this. And since we're here, why don't we go ahead and work our way up this side. So as far as, let's see, do we want to go up and then down into our previous stitches? Or do we want to go up through these and then down? I don't know. Whatever you want. Either way is fine. I guess be consistent. Or if you're going to be inconsistent, be consistently inconsistent. Okay, I'm going to jump up to the forehead because this is basically, I'm doing what we did with the black here, okay? But I'm going to jump up to the forehead. And I'll probably finish that offline. So basically this forehead section is going to be the same as what we did here. Same thing. Just filling in. Okay, I'm going to pause there. Let's go ahead and move to the brown. Let's see. This is like the dark orangey brown. There's like a gray brown or like a, I don't even know what it'd be called. Whatever. This is, we're going to start with this over here. Start filling in this space. So this eye patch here is going to be filled with this color and the lighter version of it. And I don't know, it's like it's darker up here and then it gets lighter and then it gets darker again. So I'm gonna start making some gaps that we'll fill in with the other color. And as we get here, we kind of blend into that gray on the right. So remember, I left some holes to fill in. Okay, and then while I'm here, I'm gonna start filling this section too. I think it's really easier to just fill it in, and then we're going to come in with the black and we're going to add spots and we're going to add like an outline. But as far as like leaving holes, I feel like that adds more work. We will do that down here for the body just because it's more defined. Like some owls have spots on their throats like this. Some of them don't. Some of them are more solid color. We're almost at an hour. People ask, how long does thread painting take? Sometimes I like to do a little, show some on the camera and then I'll do some behind the scenes and come back, but I also think it's useful to have some videos where you see all of it. So you can see how long it takes and how it builds. Okay, this whole section is going to be the same. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to come up. I'm going to jump up here. I'm just going to do, let's see. So the stitch direction up here is like this, kind of with a little curve, if possible. Oh, I feel like I need some Advil. Okay. What was that stitch direction? I go to the trouble of putting in those lines and then whatever that was. So there's just like a little bit of this down here and then it's going to start blending into another color. So I'm just going to add a couple of stitches, not quite next to each other, that will kind of get blended around like this, something like that. And then we're going to use this again over here. So I'll just leave this here. And then I'm going to move to, what should we move to? Let's do that other dark brown, the kind of gray brown color. And that's what we're going to use up here now. So we're going to start moving into this. So I'm filling in those holes I left. I'm going to start just focusing on the left side so we don't fill the whole forehead on camera. I'm struggling with that stitch direction. I'm gonna go ahead and make like a, oh, that turned out really flat too. It's okay if it's straight across. It's a very subtle, it's like up and then down. I like how I'm jumping around so much. I was trying to make guideline stitches for myself, which I didn't do a great job doing. And now I'm trying to go back and fill this in. And then I keep forgetting I'm supposed to just stay to the left. So as I get higher, I'm going to do fewer stitches because we're going to start blending into gray. I think I'll do the white first though, because I want the white to be really subtle. So I'm going to do it under. Okay, so here's my, back to my white. This isn't really white, it's off-white. Okay, wow, what do we have happening here? Okay. So this kind of fades up here. And then at the very top, I'm just gonna add, it's basically like kind of what I was already doing, how it was almost like a running stitch. We're basically just doing little specks of this off-white. I'm doing them first because when I come in with the gray, it'll kind of cover some of that up because I don't want it too dramatic. All right, so let's do that gray. There we go. So I would usually just start here. So we're doing basically a fade from that more orangey brown to the more gray brown. And then up here it kind of turns into a mix between gray and brown. And then as we get higher up, it turns to more gray than brown, but there's still a little bit of brown. And then at the very top, we get a little bit of the white in there as well, or off-white. So you can see these aren't, well, so much for that stitch direction. You can see these aren't like the
neatest stitches, and that's okay. They don't really need to be. I mean, we're making the texture of feathers and like spotted feathers, so here I'm gonna come in and kind of work in between these, but in doing so I'm also gonna be covering them a little bit, so I don't want them too dramatic. I almost added in another color here, like a beige, but I think this is fine. Okay, and then you'll notice that there's black on all of that as well, so I'm going to use my black to come in, and I'm doing the spots on top, so it's the same kind of like almost running stitch spots. And maybe at this point you can try to get that stitch direction a little better, or just keep it horizontal. That's fine too. And it's up to you how many of these you want to do. I concentrated mine like towards the bottom of this section. Yeah, coming together. Let's see, it looks like I went up, yeah, somewhere around there, so high I went. Okay, so that's how to do that forehead section. And then let's go ahead and fill in here. And then, whoops, I just lost it. Here we go. One last color we haven't used yet. This brighter brown. We're going to fill in here. I'm wondering, so I used some of the variegated floss to make the eye a little bit darker, the yellow part of the eye. I think you could use this color too. Originally I had a whole nother yellow color, and it seemed kind of excessive to just bring in a whole nother color that we only do like 5 stitches with, so could use this color. Or you could use the variegated color, which I'll show you how to do when we get there. This floss was on a bobbin, so it's a little bit angry about that. I'm just adding a little bit of the light brown in the dark brown section, because we do have some of the dark brown in the light brown section to kind of blend between the two. I don't know what happened here. Some kind of fuzzy situation. It's confusing me. Okay, and when we're coming up through like a stripe we've already created and going down into a stripe we've already created, we want to have like some staggering so that we get this jagged line between those. Like it shouldn't be like a perfect straight line, right? Because it's feathers. It's not like our eyeliner where it is a nice straight in theory. It's supposed to be straight. It doesn't look straight right now, does it? Yeah. Okay, did I actually fill all this in or what? Can't really tell what happened here. I pulled up some fuzz. Here's a hole. We can put this stitch here in this hole. So again, I said, do it darker up here and then darker here and then some lighter in the middle. And that's just a general suggestion. If you want yours to be lighter all over, that's cool. And you can add more here, wherever, anywhere. Okay, so now we're probably going to need to take care of these ears, I'm thinking. So let's do that. Okay, gray. We do not need gray for this part. And I don't think I used this color either. We pretty much... Oh, what a big tangle of mess there. Pretty much just need to come back in here with the black and continue filling up here. We'll do the tops of the ears first. So if you look at pictures of these owls, some of them have very, very, very floofy ears. And so if you would like, you can switch. I would probably fill them in using the 2 strands, but you can come back with a single strand and add some extra stitches to create some extra floofiness. And the stitches along this edge, please go beyond the guideline to create some of that floof. Okay, I'm going to pause here for a moment and switch to our brown. That warm brown. Oh, geez, I'm glad you can't see this mess I've created. I usually don't stitch like this where I keep a bunch of needles connected. Because it makes a mess when I do it. Okay. So, fill in here. So I'm making these stitches kind of long, just because it's faster, and it can help with that floofy look. So these feathers are not laying down nice and neat. They're kind of dramatically all over the place. Okay, so then my light brown. Come back in with that, maybe. And this will go on the top. So up here again, I'm going beyond the guideline some. So make that fluff. Trying to make it not so perfect. I mean, not that it's perfect, but more wild, more, I don't know, random? Yeah. It was, oops. My stitches were too uniform. There, see, I kind of added a different stitch direction and it made a big difference. Okay, I'm going to put this way off to the side because we won't need that for some time. Okay, so I'm going to come back with the black because this line here is too uniform as well. So I'm going to come on here and add some black stitches to kind of blend. Something like that, yeah? And then, I guess at this point we should finish this white. I wonder if this is a good place to stop. Yeah. Probably. Okay, come back for part 2.